The Fort Worth 500 will be the first event under the new twin race format implemented in the Elite Series over the off-season. This was done to eliminate the qualifying races and increase car counts at the same time. 83 cars were cleared to race at the Texas Motor Speedway this weekend, and they will be split into twin 250-mile races with 41 cars in the first race and 42 in the second. We would have had a full field of 84 cars, but Randy McFlasher, driving the part-time entry for Derek Dudding's team, caused some very, very, very avoidable incidents in practice, and so officials banned him from the race. And some reports are saying that he will be stripped of his competitor's license as well. And now I will hand it off to Scott for the race review. Thank you, Earl. Bigsby Foot in car number 14 won the pole for race number 1. The Sasquatch Predator is carrying new colors this season. Dale Underwood qualified second in the number 03 Cromwell CS. He is also carrying new colors. And then in the second row, we have CJ Cameron in the 313 and Michael Madrigal in the famous number 64. Cameron is going to take the lead in the opening laps with a little push from Edwin Schwartzlowski in the number 66 car for M&J Racing, but Cameron leaves the door open for Schwartzlowski to jump into the lead himself. Henrietta Laverne III has found a new home this season, driving the number 49 car for Zenus Development. Laverne was sacked from Gravity Racing Inc. last season due to performance issues, but here she is challenging CJ Cameron for second. The first caution came out on lap 5. Eric Jackson gets into Ricky Navarro twice coming down the front stretch. This is going to trigger a big pileup as several cars come barreling in. Nico Petrov goes for a ride. Scott Dalitz is around. Wesley Savage took a pretty big lick. It looks like his luck has not improved much since last season. Several more cars also took some heavy damage. Here's the helicopter shot. Jackson got into Navarro once coming off of turn 4, knocked himself into the grass and back up into the 34, and then it all descends into madness from here. Officials were not too pleased with Jackson and promptly called him to the hauler. 10 years ago, A.J. Young had a reputation as a wrecker. However, he is actually going to get through this incident without a scratch. Young cut it really close with Cedric Dejoux and DJ Daniels, but he got through it clean. I mentioned that Wesley Savage's luck still seems to be pretty sour as we begin the new season. However, he's going to encounter more problems by doing that to Salvatore Provenzano. That is going to send Provenzano out of the race and Savage right to the hauler. Edwin Schwartzlowski continues to lead on the restart, and he seems to catch Shane Lake sleeping. Schwartzlowski was a phenomenal touring car driver in Europe despite missing his right arm, and he seems to have taken to oval racing really well. However, officials are forcing him to use an automatic transmission because the shifter is located on the driver's right side. This is Blake Camphausen challenging for the third spot in his first ARLA Elite Series start. There is not a whole lot of funding behind that team, but he's got that car on rails, and he's even looking to take second from Bigsby Foot. And one driver not on rails is Todd Stater, who has to bring his number 150 Genesis Pro to the pit lane after experiencing some mechanical problems shortly after the restart. Tough break for Stater and the Genesis team. They just acquired backing from the Freedom from Pollution Council. Mike Howard is running very solidly up in the top 10 in his first ARLA Elite Series start for Last Row Autosport. That team made a few attempts last season, but failed to qualify for all of them. So this is exactly what they need right now. Caution 2 came out on lap 13. Chuck Bloomers scrapes the wall coming down the front stretch, and then gets clipped by Bob Steffens in the 211. Anthony Griffith also gets collected. Bloomers goes into the wall, but he keeps going. Cody Richards leads on the restart in what he calls the Flying 53, though he didn't exactly fly to the front. Several of the leaders pitted, and this handed Richards the lead. Richards, who has been competing in the Elite Series since 1998, scaled back to a part-time operation last season and finally got his first win at Appleton. Unfortunately for Richards, he's going to have a tire go down after the restart, so he'll have to pit the car, and that will hand the lead to Libby Bell in the 24. Bell's name really came out of left field, but she was picked to drive the third Power Steering Incorporated car this season. Her run in the rookie shootout was very rough, but tonight she's leading. However, she's got Ricky Flush breathing down her neck. Last season, Flush did double duty in ARLA and the RROL. Of course, that series is now known as the VSCC. Flush won the ARLA race at Mosport as well as the RROL Championship without winning a single race in that series. Scott Morales in the 76 won last year's season opener as a rookie. Tonight, he is running up inside the top 10, looking to make it 4 victories in a row for Team owner Ken Groves in the opening race. Caution 3 came out on lap 30. Chuck Bloomers is going to pull right up into Ricky Flush in the 31, taking Flush into the wall and collecting Cody Richards as well. A great night for Flush suddenly goes south as the 31 suffered some pretty significant damage after that contact with the wall. I seriously doubt the White Mountain Motorsports team was happy with Bloomers, and the officials definitely weren't happy with him. They promptly called Bloomers to the hauler. Edwin Schwartzlowski led on the restart. DJ Daniels in the 78 is the last car on the lead lap. Well, not anymore. Mike Howard in the Juneau S1 is going to move up into the second spot, and here comes Blake Camphausen to challenge with the leaders once again. The 4th caution came out shortly after the restart on lap 37, again involving Eric Jackson, who gets into Cody Richards and sends both cars up into the wall, collecting Nikos Kostopoulos in the 728 as well. Jackson did the exact same thing to Ricky Navarro on lap 5, so I think we can expect some kind of penalty out of this. Edwin Schwartzlowski will lead on the restart once again. Ken Groves in the 74 heads to the pit lane with a flat tire. Tough break for him. He was having a very nice run. Packer Carroll restarts second in the number 71 Volpe, and there he goes for the lead. Bigsby Foot remains in third in the number 14, with Jason Bates following. A little while later, CJ Cameron, making his first ARLA Elite Series start, is going to have a go at the lead, trying to avenge Ricky Flush. Libby Bell is going to peek to the inside, but Cameron throws the block on her. Harry Asinola in the number 45 has worked his way up to third. Shane Lake blows an engine in his number 155 Lennard. He was having a great run, but it just wasn't meant to be tonight. Lake put together a lot of top 10 runs last season, but it looks like he's going to have to wait till next week to continue those good finishes. The leaders are going to come across the lapped cars of Chuck Bloomers and Cody Richards, who hold up both the outside and the inside. Whoa, Scott Morales and Edwin Schwartzlowski have a very close call there. Bigsby Foot is going to move into the lead as Cody Richards finally gives up the inside line. And then Schwartzlowski proceeds to take the lead away from Bigsby Foot. Harry Asinola will make a very big run into turn 1 to pass both Scott Morales and Bigsby Foot to move up into the second spot. Hawk Slider received a lifetime ban from ARLA after the infamous Dwyergate scandal. However, towards the end of the season, Slider and ARLA settled out of court, and now he's back with sponsorship from Ultraviolent Wrestling. Slider, who has been very, very confident of himself, currently hangs around the top 10. Harry Inola has a go at the lead after Edwin Schwartzlowski starts to drop back a bit. And coming back up towards the front is Michael Madrigal, who has been picked up to drive the famous number 64 for M&J Racing this season. Madrigal is bringing sponsorship from Redline Internet Service, but Madrigal is showing that he's not just some paid driver as he slowly starts to reel in the 45. A few moments later, there goes Madrigal. He peeks to the inside, but Harry Nola just has too much momentum coming off of turn 4. And then there is Edwin Schwartzlowski creeping back up towards the front once again. Looking back from the number 66, you see that the leaders have opened up a very nice gap over the rest of the field. A.J. Young in the 55 is going to get in the way of the leaders, and Schwartzlowski uses this opportunity to steal the lead from Harry Inola. This is going to bring Kyle Eckerton in the 47 up towards the front. Eckerton is in his first full year with Zenas in the Elite Series, but unfortunately he's attempted too many races previously to be eligible for the Rookie of the Year award. Ricky Flush is making his way back up towards the front. His team has apparently repaired the damage that he sustained in that incident with Chuck Bloomers, and you just saw him get by the lapped car of the man calling himself Dumo. The self-proclaimed criminal mastermind is running car number 666 with his own chassis, the Doom Mobile, complete with 3 booby trap hatches on the back. ARLA officials let him run with those hatches on the condition that he did not actually put any booby traps in them. Dumo did not qualify for a single RROL race last season, and it appears that he will be a backmarker here too. CJ Cameron has retaken the lead from Edwin Schwartzlowski with the help of the lapped car of Chuck Bloomers. Blake Camphausen in the 046 continues to hold a spot in the top 5. He's having an absolutely fantastic run tonight. Harry Asinola is going to get a big run on CJ Cameron with the help of the lapped car of Rip Tyler, who took some damage in that first incident and has been off the pace ever since. CJ Cameron does not stand a chance as Enola squeezes his nose under him and takes the lead. However, shortly afterwards, Michael Madrigal is going to reel in Enola and take the lead for himself, with Blake Camphausen in tow. On lap number 102, Bob Steffens in the 211 Tonnerre Thunder for Big Bunny Racing is the first lead lap car to dive into the pits for green flag pit stops. Steffens will be followed by CJ Cameron, Harry Enola, Blake Camphausen, Hawk Slider, among others. Ricky Flush is then going to dive into the pits all by himself. I think he might have made Michael Madrigal check up a little bit. When everything cycled up, the lead still belonged to CJ Cameron with Harry Enola in second. Anthony Griffith in the 00 is a lap down. Cameron and Enola have a very big lead over the rest of the field. However, everyone would be bunched up by the final caution on lap 128. Packer Carroll gets into the lapped car of DJ Daniels coming off of turn 2, sending Daniels spinning to the inside. I think Packer could have showed a little more patience as we still have a little over 40 laps left of racing. But I have to say the ARLA officials are pretty lenient towards the leaders roughing up lapped cars. Harry Enola took the lead from CJ Cameron shortly before the caution came out. Dan McKay in the 10, Mike Howard in the 610, and Scott Dollitz in the 18 are all a lap down. So this is going to give Enola and Cameron a cushion over everyone else. Cody Richards and Chuck Bloomers are going to get in the way once again. Those two cars have been stuck together like magnets the entire race. Cameron gets through with the lead with Edwin Schwartzlowski taking second, and Harry Enola, as he gets stuck behind Chuck Bloomers, is going to fall way back. I don't think the former Marine drill sergeant is going to be too happy about this. Schwartzlowski is going to reel in CJ Cameron and power by him coming into turn 3, and look who's in third. Ricky Flush has come back to the front after his night was seemingly over. Schwartzlowski is going to be held up by Chuck Bloomers and Cody Richards again. Cody Richards almost comes down on the 66, but thankfully he thought twice because that would have been a disaster for Schwartzlowski, who in his first start is facing his first victory as the laps wind down. But he's got another hungry debutant driver in CJ Cameron breathing down his neck and coming to the white flag. Cameron gets a huge run on Schwartzlowski. Schwartzlowski does not stand a chance as Cameron powers by him going into turn 1. The lapped car of AJ Young is just ahead of the leaders, but he is not going to be a factor. CJ Cameron, in his first start, is going to take the win in race number 1 of the Fort Worth 500. Edwin Schwartzlowski would manage to hang on to the second spot. However, I'm sure he would have liked nothing more than to hold off Cameron on that last lap. Ricky Flush finishes third, putting both White Mountain cars on the podium. Michael Madrigal finishes an impressive fourth in his first race with M&J Racing. In fifth, we have Bigsby Foot, who ran very quietly en route to one of his best finishes in recent memory. Harry Asinola will have a very nice start to the year with a solid 6th place finish. Blake Camphausen finishes a fantastic 7th in the underfunded number 046 car. He was locked in a tight battle with Libby Bell, but ultimately beat her out. This was still an impressive run for Libby Bell, though. In 9th place is Kyle Eckerton in the Zenith, and Jason Bates rounds out the top 10. We will now go over to race number 2 of the Fort Worth 500. Taylor Brillin won the pole for that race in the number 65 Sar Eagle for M&J Racing. In fact, the M&J and Riggs juggernaut swept the first 3 rows. Chris Johans in the 064 qualified on the outside of the front row, Kevin Monroe and Allie Riggs in row 2, and Laura Cyrus and Damian Snyder in row 3. Coming to the end of the first lap, Monroe is going to take the lead from Brillin with Laura Cyrus breathing down his neck. Alex Carson is that third car on the inside line. And there goes Cyrus to the inside. Apparently she is not content with letting Monroe hold the lead for more than 3 seconds. Predictably, Derek Dudding has fallen off the pace in the opening laps in his 4,968,325 car. I'm surprised I remembered that. Wait a minute. I thought I saw something. Is that a door? The first caution came out on lap 4. Alex Carson drifts up a little too high coming off of turn 2, and he is clipped by Leslie Riggs. This sends Bruce Wilkinson and Mike Andrews spinning. Alex Carson spins back up in front of traffic, triggering a big pileup going into turn 3. Let's shift our focus to Mike Andrews and Bruce Wilkinson. Leslie Riggs got forced down into the both of them. Mike Andrews comes back up in front of traffic. He gets hit by Lucas Hunter. Phil Summers in the 91 shows some very good accident avoidance. Oh, Derek Dunning slams into the 500. Dunning did the exact same thing in the rookie shootout when he barreled into Rachel Rainsford's car. And now here's an aerial shot. There is the 28 drifting up the track. He lifts way out of the throttle to avoid going into the wall. But Leslie Riggs doesn't lift out of the throttle, and all hell breaks loose. Jacob Eichholz, the winner of the rookie shootout, leads on the restart with Chris Johans in second, and that is Jared Anderson in the third spot. Johans goes up to the high side for some reason, and this lets Anderson in. Taylor Brillen restarted in fourth, but she suffered some pretty heavy damage in that incident, so she starts to drop back. Andy Pearson moves up into the fourth spot. The second caution came out on lap 14. Paul Lyons in the 54 gets together with the damaged car of Makoto Yamada, sending the 22 spinning down into turn 3. Nobody hits him, and he's going to keep going. Laura Cyrus led on the restart, and that is Amy Patty in car number 73 in the second spot, making her first ARLA Elite Series start for MRD Motorsports. And then that third car in line is Alexis Farr in the number 94 Dongyo Dove, making her first start as well. Farr and her teammate David Jarrett showed up with the exact same colors on both of their cars, and ARLA officials are reportedly not happy about that. We got another caution on lap 20. Phil Summers seems to run out of racetrack coming off of turn 2. Holden Roberts, Mamba Kumegu, and Lake Grill are collected. They spin right back in front of traffic, and mayhem ensues. Tyson Lautenschlager is in there. Lake Grill goes onto his roof. Rachel Rainsford and Rachel Gonzalez were also collected. And you see Holden Roberts drive his car away. There's more chaos further up the track. Here is Rachel Rainsford. She slams into the 46 and then gets hit by Grill's teammate, Jason Teller. And there's Makoto Yamada in the 22. He finds his way into this wreck. And you saw Cletus McGuffey in the 04 just squeak by on the outside. Most of the leaders pitted under this caution, which put Matas Kazimieras up front. Kazimieras, of course, dominated the Street Stocks East Division last season. This prompted Kurt Walker to stick Kazimieras in his third car for this year. So far, this decision seems to be paying off, but now Kazimieras is under attack from Nick Howard in the 611. And then Gary D'Souza would steal the lead with Chris Johans in tow. This 149 car started last season with Des Inman behind the wheel, but he failed to qualify for several races. So Gary D'Souza stepped in and finished second at Mosport. So now D'Souza is going full-time in this car. And now D'Souza has competition from Chris Johans, who is carrying CAF, one of his Team Master Cup Series sponsors, on his car. Johans is going to take the lead without much of a problem. But several laps later, Johans and the rest of the leaders are going to run into lap traffic. That is Phil Summers in the 91 and Cletus McGuffey in the 04, who doesn't have any damage on that car, but he's still running way off the pace. These lapped cars are going to give Allie Riggs and Joseph Howard a chance at the lead now. Joel Rodriguez is back with Scuderia Martinez this season. He was showing some decent pace in the opening laps, however, he seems to have fallen off. We believe that he may have dropped a cylinder in that car. Tough break for Rodriguez, who has been trying to rebuild his racing career over the past couple of years. Joseph Howard is going to take the lead from Chris Johans after Johans gets held up by Makoto Yamada, who almost comes down on the 17. That could have been a big disaster. Yamada continues to hold up the 064 as Gary D'Souza slips into the second spot, but Joseph Howard has opened up a sizable gap. However, Gary D'Souza is able to reel in the 17 and challenge him for the lead a few laps later. The Wiper Ildis Gazniers have been really fast, with Gary D'Souza and his teammate Rene Ricarmier finishing on the podium at the rookie shootout, and it appears that D'Souza still has a lot left in that car. But D'Souza may not be using much of that stuff at this moment because Joseph Howard was able to swipe the lead back just a few moments later. Howard had an abysmal first year of ARLA competition last season, and so far he's really been improving on that. Kevin Monroe and Laura Cyrus have worked their way back up into the lead group and are now looking to chase down Joseph Howard. Both of these drivers had some pretty big wins in 2010. Monroe won the inaugural 120 laps at Dwyer, snapping a 2-year winless streak, and Cyrus took home her first ARLA Thunder Trucks checkered flag at Rockford. And as they run, she is in position to take her first Elite Series victory as well. And the odds are certainly in her favor. We have only had first-time winners in the season opener since 2001. Guess who sparks that trend? Kevin Monroe. Gary D'Souza kicks off green flag pit stops. Jared Anderson follows him on the next lap. And then the lap after that, Allie Riggs is going to dive in to make her pit stop. And then we get a caution in the middle of the pit cycle. Makoto Yamada drifts up into Andy Pearson coming off of turn 2, taking Pearson into the wall and sending Yamada spinning. This is really going to shake up the leaderboard as several of the lead cars got trapped either a lap down or on the tail end of the lead lap. We only have 10 cars on the lead lap right now, and several of them are cars that have not been in serious contention all day. Kevin Monroe leads on the restart with Laura Cyrus in second, and in third is Mamba Kumengu in the Katsev. Namimura runs fourth, and Amy Patty is in fifth. Here's a better look at some of the cars that benefited from this ill-timed yellow. Amy Patty moves into the second spot after Kevin Monroe gets held up by Leslie Riggs. Joseph Howard and Damian Snyder are up in this group right now. Snyder hasn't been in contention all day, but is now up in the top 10. Caution 5 would fly on lap 97. Jared Anderson gets into Namimura, coming off at turn 2, taking both cars into the wall. Anderson hits the wall especially hard. This is going to take both cars out of the race, and it is an especially tough break for Mura, who benefited from that last caution. Amy Patty leads on the restart with Laura Cyrus right behind her. Patty is trapped behind Makoto Yamada, Cletus McGuffey, and a few other of the lapped cars. Yamada holds Patty up on the restart, but she dives to the inside. Mamba Kumengu goes for second on Laura Cyrus, who hesitates a little bit. Kumengu won a TM Junior Series race in 2008, but after that he seemingly fell off the face of the earth until he was picked up to drive the International Motorsport entry. The South African driver would then make a move for the lead on Amy Patty, but Kumengu has Joseph Howard in tow. In fact, Kumengu and Patty have some damage accumulated in earlier incidents, and this is going to open up the door for Joseph Howard, who breezes right by Kumengu. Bruce Wilkinson and Brenda Riggs are in the same situation as Amy Patty and Mamba Kumengu. They both took damage in earlier incidents, but thanks to that caution, they are now up in the top 10. Wilkinson, as you may remember, only started a few races last season, but got some very impressive results, including a second at the rain race at Watkins Glen, and now he is in the 7-car full-time for Gravity Racing Inc. Jacob Eichholz was the points leader coming into this race. How did that happen? He won the rookie shootout just a couple of nights ago. That race paid 25 bonus points to the winner. Eichholz is currently in the top 10, and if he finishes well enough, he could remain the points leader. Allie Riggs and Matas Kazimieras are both a lap down, but they are trying to chase down Joseph Howard to unlap themselves. However, they're not going to be catching him anytime soon if they keep battling like this. Howard, in the meantime, has opened up a huge gap over second place. As you can probably tell, none of the other lead lap cars are anywhere close to these three drivers. In fact, we're going to show you just how big of a lead Joseph Howard has. Howard's going to be coming by with this group of cars. There's Chris Johansson, Benji Flynn a lap down, and you saw Mamba Kumengu and Laura Cyrus in that group of lapped cars. Joseph Howard has a lead of about 4 seconds at this point. Laura Cyrus and Jacob Eichholz are having a bit of a battle right here. Cyrus is going to take the position from Jacob Eichholz, and you're going to see in a moment that they're going to come up across some of these slower cars. Joel Rodriguez and Phil Summers are having a little battle of their own right in front of these two. Mamba Kumengu in the Katsev, the damaged Katsev, is holding his own against the SAR Eagles of Brenda Riggs and Kevin Monroe. The underfunded International Motorsport is competing for a top 5 in its very first ARLA Elite Series start, but Kumengu, a very obscure name in the racing world, has got to hold off Kevin Monroe in order to do that. But in the meantime, Joseph Howard dominates the last 70 laps to take his first ARLA Elite Series victory by 8 seconds over Laura Cyrus. Cyrus just beats out Jacob Eichholz for the second spot. Gary D'Souza was unfortunately trapped a lap down. Kevin Monroe brings car number 63 home a solid 4th. Mamba Kumengu gets a top 5 in his very first start. We're looking forward to seeing how that team holds up in the future. Brenda Riggs finishes in 6th. Bruce Wilkinson finishes in 7th. I think we can safely say that he's meeting the expectations placed on him so far. Amy Patty brings home a solid 8th place finish in her first start. This puts 2 MRD Motorsports cars in the top 10. Joseph Howard, of course, drives for MRD. Damian Snyder found a new home in ARLA after failing to secure a Team Master Cup Series drive. He finished 9th in his first start. And Chris Johans is going to round out the top 10. He was ahead of Joseph Howard when that last caution flew, so he got back on the lead lap. And now let's take a look at our point standings leaving the Fort Worth 500. Jacob Eichholz got 25 bonus points for winning the rookie shootout, so despite finishing 3rd in his race, he leaves as the points leader. Joseph Howard and CJ Cameron are both 8 points behind Eichholz. Due to the new twin race format, you're going to notice a lot of ties leaving this race, but we're just going to go through the top 20 normally. Laura Cyrus and Edwin Schwartzlowski are both 23 points behind Eichholz. Ricky Flush is 25 points behind. Michael Madrigal and Kevin Monroe are 27 points behind. And then we have Mamba Kumengu and Bigsby Foot rounding out the top 10. And now here is 11 through 20. Harry Esanola is 11th. Brenda Riggs, his team owner, is right behind him. Libby Bell got into an incident with Holden Roberts during the rookie shootout, and her team owner Will Power made it very public that he was upset with her. However, I think she rallied back quite nicely, and she sits in 13th. Amy Patty is tied with Libby Bell. And how about Blake Camphausen? He shows up from out of nowhere with his small team and finishes in the top 10 in his race. Bruce Wilkinson is tied with Blake Camphausen. Both are 36 points behind Jacob Eichholz. Chris Johans is in 17th, 39 points back. Damian Snyder and Kyle Eckerton are tied 40 points back. And Jason Bates rounds out the top 20.